Hi guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host, Gibson Johns, and this week on the podcast we have Crystal Kung Minkoff from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Crystal obviously joined this past season, and similarly with Ebony K. Williams from New York last week, I'm really glad that I got time with Crystal at the end of her season. This is now my kind of preferred way of interviewing new housewives at the end of their seasons because I really think that they just have a better perspective on the whole experience and what it's actually like to be a housewife as the show is airing and dealing with all the online stuff. And Crystal really unfortunately has had to deal with some really disgusting, hateful, anti-Asian sentiment online. And, she's really been through the ringer this season. And I think she's definitely come out the other end stronger. But it's been tough for her. And so we talked a little bit about that. And I think, for me, one of the biggest things that I was curious about with Crystal was, she really did take that stance with the Erika Jayne of it all of, let's not question her, let's just fully support her and what have you. And she had some great things to say about that. And I think she made her perspective on that, which seems to be changing a lot. And she really explained her perspective on that well. And it seems to be an evolving thing for her, and just kind of getting her footing in the group. And I think, again, the stuff with Sutton really impacted the rest of her season. So anyway, keep listening for my interview with Crystal Kung Minkoff from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Tune in to The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills 4-part reunion. You guys, I can't. Wednesdays at 8. It's amazing. And please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so we are here with Crystal Kung Minkoff from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Crystal, I'm so excited to be talking to you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I just had Ebony from New York on, and it's funny because whenever I interview a new housewife, it usually comes at the beginning of the season when they're still getting their feet wet and they haven't really experienced the airing of the season. But Ebony I had on at the end of her season, and I actually really liked that because I feel like you, as a new housewife, then you really have you have the full picture of what the experience is like. Do you have that sense for yourself now that we're sort of at the end of your first season?
Totally. I mean, I filmed it. I knew it. If you had asked me at the beginning, I thought I knew what I knew. And then you watch it later because we don't get to see conversations that happen without, just like in real life,
Yeah.
At the time you think you know everything. And so that's really fascinating to see everyone's experiences when you get to see the broader picture.
Mm-hmm. And how has your experience overall been now that we have the filming and we have the airing? We obviously haven't seen the reunion yet, but you filmed it. So how has your experience been overall?
A roller coaster,
Yeah.
Just like filming to watching it, to everything, it's unlike anything you can prepare for, expect, but it's certainly a life experience that many don't get to have.
Yeah.
And so I really think of that as like the positives of it, that I got to do something that was totally unlike anything else.
Mm-hmm. Has there been a standout highlight for you from this whole thing?
I really, and I'm enjoying to watch the last couple episodes because it's really when I know I'm opening up. When I got into it with Sutton at the beginning, it really took a toll on me and I didn't want to open up and share. And as I started to relax more and really start to I was brand new, so I didn't really know anyone and I wasn't quite there to show who I really was yet. Even though I'm a totally open book, I just was more quiet. And so towards the end, I decided I'm like, I need them to know who I am. And so I had more fun and to show my culture and my family. That was great.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And was there something that triggered that decision for you around when in the season did that happen?
I could feel personally that I was closed off and I've never been like that in my life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is not fair to myself, to them. They don't, because I think that I would get along with all of them if they really saw who I was. And so it was just I just needed to do that. And then I ended up really having a lot of fun at the end.
Good. So, I mean, obviously that first half of the season, you and Sutton was really dramatic, kind of drawn out situation. And it's been discussed a lot. And so I don't need to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I'm curious for you sort of what was the change in mindset for you? Sort of, if you think back to where you were during that kind of, as that was being filmed and as that was playing out versus now, and how you look back on that situation.
Yeah.
What's the difference there for you?
So actually, Sutton and I talked about it not long ago, to really sort of dissect what happened. And I think we just both assume the worst in each other. And when you do that, there's no space, and then when we really hashed it out about where we were coming from, we got to know each other better. And of course, then you end up sort of regretting what happened, because then it didn't have to. But ultimately, that's what makes people become closer.
Right.
And I know that sounds so trite, but it's actually true. Like, I would never had this intense conversation with her later to really understand it. And so we know each other better now. And then I can learn from my mistakes about what I did. So yeah, it's a growing pain, but kind of amazing at the same time.
Yeah, of course. And I'm curious because obviously you guys film the reunion, and Andy has said that it's going to be 4 parts, which is, I think it's only happened maybe one other time. I want to say like that. That's pretty I think it tells you everything you need to know about probably how that day went. But would you say that the Sutton of it all is sort of what you get into it most during that day, or what can you tell me about sort of kind of where you kind of talk most, I guess?
I think for me, of course you have to discuss it and hash it out and sort of relive it. For me though, I think the majority was really about where I stand today with everyone, and sort of how I felt as a newbie filming. And again, this is almost a year ago. So I think people get like timeline and what has transpired since and where I'm at today. And I felt more comfortable at the reunion expressing how I felt than I did back in December, because I was so new, and I was able to watch back the experience of opening up and speaking out. So I felt more comfortable at the reunion doing that.
Are there other people on the cast who you've had a change of heart about, or I guess we'll see that on the reunion? Yeah. Okay. I mean, we'll see then. I guess we'll see it. That's very interesting. And I mean, of course, like the second half of the season has really felt like something that has never been on TV before. It feels like it's a completely new layered thing that it's just like, so there's so much to unpack with the Erika of it all, and just the layers of filming versus what's happening in the news and all that, that. But it seemed as though during filming and at that time you were taking the stance of, we don't really need to be asking her that many questions, and we should be supporting her. Can you just talk me through a little bit like about why you took that stance on it, and if it has changed since then?
Well, it's my personality. I don't grill people in general. And I don't think audiences in real life does that either. Like you wouldn't spend every single night grilling someone.
No, of course not.
And if I don't know you, I'm certainly not going to do that. And so I think it was because on the heels of what happened with Sutton and I, and the girls know this now, is like, they kept it going. And I think that Sutton and I would have gotten to a better place earlier.
I agree. Yeah.
But I think that, I don't know. I mean, look, it was a hard thing. It was a hard place to be. And I wanted to get to know people. It just, every night, it was just fighting and screaming every night. And that was hard for me, and that made me uncomfortable. And, I mean, I don't know if more support versus just discomfort.
Right. And sort of taking a step back from it maybe is more of the,
and
not involving yourself.
Judgments based on all that. Like I knew things would play out, and they still are. So, but yeah, I mean, now that I look back, of course my feeling, so much has gone on since. So my feelings have changed in different ways, not just in this situation, but like on other things. And it was really hard. I just don't like all that fighting. It was challenging.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I feel like the one, I think what you said earlier about the timeline of it all, it's really, especially I think with this situation, it's really hard to wrap our minds around it, because I think, again, so much has happened since. But I feel like the one kind of really fan-driven, viewer-driven opinion is like, the way Erika's been acting on social media, and some of like the lack of remorse is really the tough thing for people to get over. It's not whether she knew, it's really how she's acting. And do you see that sort of just as paying attention to the fan commentary and stuff like that?
Totally.
Yeah.
I did. I did. I would be remiss. 100%. Yeah.
And last thing about that is, she said that it's because of her that the reunion is 4 parts. She said it on Twitter, and that made the rounds. Is that true? Or I'm assuming there's other things that take up a lot of the time. But is that true?
It's not all Erika, but there's a lot. But it's, I think, because us as a group watching back, we all have new questions, and as more developments are revealed, more questions. And sometimes they are well received, sometimes they were not. And that's sort of part of it. And now I question more later because I'm not so new.
Right.
And I think, the response has been online has been,
I think we've all seen it. Yeah, it's fairly one-sided. And we don't have that much time for this, but part of being a housewife is the social media of it all, is the fan commentary of it all, and that engagement. And I'm really sorry to hear that you've been going through some rough patches with that. And first of all, I just want to express that I'm really sorry about that, because that shouldn't be your experience with this. It really shouldn't. And I think there are factions of people who are like that, but I also hope that you've also felt some support from the other side of things. So I'm just curious how you're holding up when it comes to all of that, because I can't even imagine just how tough it is to go through that as you're watching yourself on TV as well.
Thank you. That's really nice of you to say. It's something I didn't anticipate to the level it has been. I get, like, the show is sort of designed to up and downs, how people feel, team, whatever. Right. And I think I was emotionally prepared for that. But the constant racist, death threats and stuff, I don't post that stuff. It just gets really dark. But I sometimes I get many a day, and I'll just wake up and I'm going to blast this person, but
take it out on them.
Yeah. For every one of those, I get 100 positive,
Jesus.
and
good.
So I get girls all the time, every day, thank you for being on the show, because you're the only person that looks like me. Or when you talk about, making dumplings or whatever, even simple things, it reminds me of my grandma, and I want to not only relate and represent Asians, but all minorities, and we have a voice, and it's sometimes, as an Asian person, very hard to open up. And that's what you see, that's part of, but that's actually my silence is my struggle, is part of, being told that my opinion doesn't matter, or that it's wrong. And so that is the Asian experience. And there's a lot of value to being on the show, but it's hard to be the one. It is.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can imagine. And I was talking, I told you I interviewed Ebony, and she just talked about, obviously her experience is different from yours because she's Black and it's a different experience and she's on a different show. But she did talk about how there is this sort of kind of inter sorority of types of women, of the new women of color on some of these franchises, who you've really been able to share your experiences and share your stories and have some, it's small, but somewhat of a support system within that. And what has that meant for you to have that just built into the experience?
It makes me emotional. Having Ebony has been so valuable to me. We really do share our experiences on the show and off the show, and and I don't think either of us anticipated it. And our experiences, even though they're parallel in a lot of ways, they result in different it's different as well.
Yeah.
But having someone at the exact same time, I think her season started a week
very
before.
Similar.
Yeah. We just check in all the time.
That's
and
so
we
nice.
as much as we can. Yeah. It's really nice.
That's really nice to hear.
And And she FaceTimes with me and Rob, and she loves Rob. It's really sweet. Yeah, it's very helpful. And yeah, you need your support system who really understands. And so we have that in each other. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such a specific experience that you guys are going through that like you can count on one hand the amount of people that have gone through it. So it's again, it warms my heart that you guys can have that within this whole thing. So I mean, we've talked a lot kind of broadly about your experience on Housewives. This is your first season, and in a lot of ways it was a landmark season, I think, for Beverly Hills and Bravo as a whole. Would you come back? Would you do a second go round?
Like, everyone will ask me that throughout the season. I'm like, let me just get through next episode. I'm like, let me get through Reunion, and then we'll see. Look, I would be lying if I didn't say it was really challenging. It's like throwing my life upside down. But then there's like such amazing positive stuff that comes out of it. The most obviously, representing Asians, and I want to do that for that one girl that messages me. That's so important, but then it's like, what does that mean for my family? And I'm pretty good.
At what cost? Right? Exactly.
Yeah. But it's certainly exciting. It's added a lot of excitement to my life. Yeah,
for sure. And I feel like, obviously, again, there are those that one for every 100 positive, there's that one negative, but you have to feel as though people would want to welcome you back, and that's I hope you do end up feeling that. I know, wait for the reunion to air, but there are a lot of people that would like to see you come back, and I think that you should know that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, Crystal, it was so fun to get to some time with you, and I can't wait for the reunion. I can't wait for the season. I mean, I wish the season it would never end, to be honest, but I can't wait to see what we have in store, and I hope to see you back again.
Thanks, you, Gibson. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Crystal. Thank you so much for listening. For more celebrity interviews, subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you heard, please rate and review us, as any show of support you can give us would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow In The Know at In The Know on Twitter and at Watch In The Know on Instagram. We'll talk to you next time.